within 2 days, he actually built an entire functional sort of a mobile banking prototype within 2 days. We can build proper functional prototype, and like you said earlier, they're actually working prototypes that we can actually do smoke tests and all different tests with real customers, right? Dynamically risk-based pricing, so they can actually base on your own risk profile. Biggest advice to everybody is just to start, not talk about it, not start think about it, start.
Welcome to the Digital Nexus podcast. In this series, we're going to be getting down and dirty with leaders and founders in the AI space. We want to get an understanding of how they utilize AI, how they're building businesses around AI, and even the strategies and future impacts of AI within the world.
Welcome back, folks, to another Digital Nexus episode. This time we've got a special guest. This is Kurt Yang. Kurt, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Mark.
Kurt and I have met, and also Chris, who's behind the camera right now. You would have seen the last couple of episodes with Chris in front of the screen. We do the swapsies every now and then, but Kurt, you're doing some great stuff in the AI space in terms of like bringing people together. And as people, Chris and myself, that have run blockchain and AI events, we know what that's like. So Kurt, if you could just give us a bit of a background for the audience that may not know you. I'm sure a lot of people do, but if they haven't heard of you yet, what is your background? Like, what's the stuff that's led to you, what you're doing now?
For sure. Yeah, it's a great pleasure to be invited to this, this fantastic venue, Mark. So a bit about me. My name is Kurt Yang. I'm a digital product manager by trade. And I've been doing product management for the last probably 10 plus years in various industries across like startups, scale-ups, enterprise, a little bit like CBA, VMware, Casuals. Okay. So I do have a lot of product management experience, and I'm really passionate about using that to help like startups, entrepreneurs to succeed, especially help them to, like sort of build their next innovation cheaper, quicker, get to success much faster. I think how I found my passion to this new adventure, this meetup thing I've been doing was actually through my frustration of I just couldn't find a meetup or a community for me as a fintech PM, whatever, to learn about GenAI or even trying to transition into AI product management. So hence why my friend was telling me as a joke, hey Kurt, why don't you just create one yourself? Yeah. And initially I took it as a joke. And that evening, I don't know what got through to me. I just said, you know what? Hey, what the heck? I'm just going to pay a meetup fee. There was a special promotion going on by Meetup, and I paid the fee. And then that's the moment I realized, oh, this has got real. I better just find a way to get this going. So it took me a little while to get the first guest speaker. But I think it's like a snowball. I'm sure you've been running events, like once you get into that bit of a momentum, emotion, and it just kept going and going. So I've been running this for the last a year and a bit. So starting from scratch, now we got about nearly 800 members. I held about 15 events, both online. I mean, some online, some some online, some in person. It's just been a fantastic journey. I couldn't tell you the amount of learnings that I personally have gained, and the networks, and I'm actually even trying to do some sort of AI project on my own as well, just out of all those learnings. Yeah.
I think that's great, and let's get into that. But you said VMware. When were you at VMware?
That was 2022, 2023, about 2 years I was there for. Yeah.
Oh, okay, more recently and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, I won a competition through VMware. They had something called the IT Survivor over a decade ago, so I'm dating myself here. But in any case, a lot of like great software there. And then you mentioned out of frustration, like setting up the meetup group, the GenAI and Fintech and EdTech, and we'll get to that. Right, yeah. Setting it up out of frustration because you weren't seeing something in the market that really helped or what you wanted. And we did the same thing, whether it was, we joined the Data Science and AI Association and became presidents there. But we also created the Oz DeFi Association because out of that frustration of not having a place to chat in between other meetups. And I think it's interesting what great things come from the frustration of, hey, why don't we have light at night? And then Edison invents the light bulb. So I am comparing you to Edison here and stuff, but could you tell us a bit more about what GenAI and Fintech and EdTech is all about? Some folks, they may have already been to the meetups and stuff, and that's great, and we'll get to the learnings, but what to you, what is GenAI and Fintech and EdTech about?
For sure. To put it very simply, my understanding is that it's a community. Right now it's online and sometimes we do in person. But the point is that we have this community, all the community members, we can come together, we can learn, share all the, you can call the latest or the most useful GenAI or AI in general as well, use cases, even like regulatory concerns or anything, or even like we actually had one session about from a recruitment perspective, like how can you transition into from an AI career perspective, right? From all different aspects. So that's kind of the purpose. It's like initially we started off in fintech, financial services. That's my background. But later on, or actually fairly recently, we also broaden it up to including education as well, or EdTech, because I personally have a lot of passion in that space and my background covered that as well. And also we have a lot of members saying to me, hey, in the education space, there's a lot of applications or GenAI applications happening. Why don't we just try to see if we can get some really amazing guest speakers to cover those topics? So I'm also going to have some those guest speakers and sessions coming up as well.
Great. And speaking of, there's so many different kind of pathways we could go into, but I'd like to set the scene a little bit. Like your background, we were discussing before, is in project management.
Actually, product management. There's a big difference. I can go deep, but
that's true.
Today, but
I said the wrong P word there. Apologies to my project and product managers. I've probably equally pissed both off, but there's another P word. But in terms of the product management, like, is that the background? You said you were at the banks and you were at some other like, fintech kind of places before. Has it always been?
No, it hasn't.
Okay.
That's a really good question. I mean, that probably can go on for like under 10 minutes or whatever, but I'll try to keep it short.
Sure.
Yeah, I actually started my career in banking as a commercial guy, or the relationship / commercial guy. So I was a banker, I was a stockbroker, or sort of online stockbroker for a little while. Then I transitioned into more like a commercial contract manager, institutional B2B, kind of like a customer success manager in a lot of today's tech world. I think through those experience, I got exposure to tech. I got exposure to some, you can call project management or product sort of related work as well. That's how I got really interested in the space, but I didn't even know that was called product management at the time. So I landed an opportunity by accident within the bank as a secondment, and that's when I realized this is something I think my skill sets really can align well with. And from that point on, I've just been in product management ever since, startups and scale ups and enterprise.
And it's interesting, and I'm asking all this because AI is not something that we have seen that it doesn't work well if you don't bring in experience, the context per se.
For sure.
And everyone has the context of the expertise that they bring in. Sure, AI can help level up things. If you don't know much about something, it can quickly get you information that you can ask questions and get information far faster. But it works so much better if you come from a background of some sort of experience, from marketing, from EdTech, from, product management and stuff. And I say all of this because I think that there's some really interesting perspectives everyone has when they couple their experience with what's going on in the AI space. Now, in terms of that, like what would be interesting is, you mentioned before that there's been a lot of learnings from having these events. Could you mention, and framing for the audience, you're this product manager experience guy, fintech, you're running these meetups and stuff. For you, Kurt, what have been some of the top of mind learnings that you've had from just running these events?
For sure. I think the biggest learning, or you can call like a pivotal moment or something, is just realizing that anyone can do it. Anyone can create their own, might not be like an AI startup or anything, but really they can really get into this space. And the reason I'm saying this is especially speaking to someone not from a technical AI or even tech or data sort of a background. I was a commercial guy before I got into product. I got a bit of a technical sort of stuff throughout the years of doing this stuff, right? But even that's the case, what I realizing that like some of my amazing past guest speakers, they are not engineers or data or whatever people, right? So they come from, say, CFO or product marketing manager, or one of the person. So he was a former owner of a large tire, I think it was a tire reseller or a tire exporter sort of a company. So people come from all different walk of life. And what I saw in common among all of them, number one is their passion. Their passion to solve problems in their own spaces, right? Because they were frustrated with whatever the way they were solving before, and all of a sudden they discovered this new way of solving those problems. Number two is what I felt is their own niche. So they all found their own niche. Maybe that niche is because of their experience or their background, or maybe their unique sort of a market understanding, and they bring that to the table. I think you probably brought up like initially a little bit as well, right? And then they really go hard at that, and then that's how I can see a lot of them, they're really succeeding in what they're doing in that space right now.
I think it's really interesting. It reminds me of I can't remember the exact quotes, but the scenario is like Steve Jobs. He went to India. He learned all about calligraphy and style and stuff like that. And that experience, coupled with he wasn't the tech guy. Wozniak was the tech guy, but coupled with his experience in tech, led him to the design thinking that's helped shape Apple to be what it is today. And for many people, it's the combination. Like before, it was like, okay, I only knew one thing. I only knew education and maybe nothing else, which is great. But now everyone has this opportunity because the barriers are lowered. Like you said, like if people are passionate about their space and they can bring in a second skill set, which is like the AI side of things, it's a dangerous, like they become a dangerous weapon, and in a good way, as in like they can tackle opportunities that they wouldn't have. And passion is a big thing as well.
100%. I mean, me, I don't know if you can see this. I'm a very passionate person about what I do.
Yeah.
And actually, talking about what I do, right? There's one thing because I'm also coaching some startup founders on the side as well.
Oh, okay.
One thing I do kind of regularly, because this just basically is the pattern I've been seeing.
Yeah.
A lot of them, because of their past expertise, their understanding of the market, and also their heavy focus around the latest AI technology.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more focus around the solution, not the problem. And even with their problem, because they have their preconceived emotions, but their previous understanding of the pain points. So sometimes there's a lack of, or maybe a bit less focus around really understanding the problem and also validating a lot of the assumptions within the problem they're trying to solve. And that can be dangerous in a lot of those sort of AI startups or attempts. That's something as a PM, I really want to help them to, just do that validation, understanding the problem space a bit better, because in that way they can save them a lot of the potential, failures or risks down the track.
Okay, so that's really interesting because I think a lot of founders normally just without AI, even with AI, maybe it's accelerated that problem of just going out and trying to solve what they think is the problem without actually validating the problem. And it's kind of backwards. It's like, well, I have to create a solution to take it out there. And we hear this a lot, but it sounds like it still happens today. Maybe there's like this is the flaw of humans, but AI and people like yourself can help founders actually get to those insights sooner, because they could waste a whole lot of time, months, years even, without actually validating the right kind of problem. Can you give us an example, without naming names, of a scenario where, you've done something like that and describe that to us? Because I think people really need to hear this sort of stuff, like how that can be a big shift and change.
For sure. Are you talking about an example where the founders have gone down a particular rabbit hole and try to help them pivot, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Let me think of one. I think there's a couple of, I'm just thinking about a really good example I can give it to you.
Sure.
There's one example. This is a lady founder. So I believe she, she had an idea around an area she want to focus on, which is, this is more in the prop tech sort of area.
Okay. Yep.
And she had a very strong belief, because she's been in that field for a very long time, very experienced, and she had very solid understanding of the problem. But then when she actually went very deep in solving that problem, what she soon realized is that, hey, that problem, it is worth the while solving. It's very, big as well. But because of her, she's a very early stage startup, hasn't got enough the sort of a resources, capital solving that. So she's to get a very, you can call hang up on going deep on that one problem. And I think where I came in is that, hey, you know what? Maybe we actually done some further validation of the problem, but more important than that is really about understanding, hey, with your capability, why is the capability? I mean, from a resourcing, from a, sort of a solution solving perspective, what are the, all the top problems within your space, and which one is actually more suitable for you and your organization at this stage to solve? I think through a lot of that, you can call a bit of a, discovery analysis, and we actually found out a much lower hanging fruit that her organization can tackle at the time. And I said to her, hey, it's not like our eyes not on that board, like that eventual problem you're trying to solve is great.
Yeah.
But a startup's a journey, as you being a startup guy, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you might start with something really small,
Mhm.
but the thing is, you're getting that momentum is in terms of getting customers, getting tractions, getting revenue, right? And it's just snowball effects. Once you gain, those people's trust, you most likely they're gonna allow you to solve their bigger problems as well. So it's gonna be a iterative process. You don't want to go hard on the biggest problem from day one if you don't have enough capability or resource to solve it.
Yeah.
So that's a good example, I think.
I think that's interesting because it's like they need to have those runs on the board before it, because it's a trust game. Like there's still this validation. Like we need to see that yes, someone can actually create the things that and we can trust them to solve these like bigger problems. So that's certainly true. I think that's great because like a lot of founders, AI is great, but it does make it easier to go down and rabbit hole into areas where potentially you might be wasting your time. So it really does depend. But do you think that there's also a benefit to, on the one side you can call it rabbit holing, but on the other side, what are your thoughts on when people just play around with things and tinker and test, and some of those tests may lead to nowhere, but some of them might actually lead to new things that you wouldn't have thought about before. So do you think that there is a positive way that you can rabbit hole?
100%. And another great example I can give you. So this is actually it's not a founder, but he's actually was my first guest speaker in my very first show. Yan, I think that's his pronunciation of his first name. So he's a technologist. So technology people like to tinker around things,
Yeah.
but he's always been the software, solution architect sort of space. He's also fairly new to AI.
Oh, wow.
I think what he was trying to do, he spent about 2 days using ChatGPT. That was about a year and a half or a year ago, right? That's when, now they didn't have like Lovable and the sort of new tools at the time. So he was actually using ChatGPT. Within 2 days, he actually built an entire functional sort of a mobile banking prototype within 2 days.
Wow.
So the point I was trying to say is that the capability is there, right? I mean, I'm not talking about building a full-on, sort of a production-ready, commercially viable financial products from a digital banking perspective. But if you have something like that, and you can really show it to people, you can show it to the execs and getting stakeholder alignment, getting customer feedback, right? It's actually much more, much more effective than if you just talk about an idea. Because when you talk about an idea to people, saying I want to do this new things or something, sometimes people might not really able to visualize that well or on the same page, misunderstand, right? But if you, within a very short amount of time, you can get to that, that's really helpful. But more importantly, because it's actually a functional prototype, he's able to get real data from people's sort of using feedback as well. Although this is not a production sort of a banking app, doesn't have a license or anything, but you can get live data feedback as well.
I think that there's vibe coding tools get a lot of sometimes hate in terms of vibe coding in general, because people think that, oh, you're letting the AI do stuff and you don't have the rigor to do it. And I'm getting to, to your experience in building as a product manager in your background, because I'm not a front-end developer. I've done a lot of stuff with statistical kind of tools, a lot of SQL, a lot of data science kind of work and stuff. I know how HTML works. I know, that I've seen doing, some of the CSS kind of stuff and doing front-end stuff. But the interesting thing has been with AI tools, if you have that bit of knowledge, even though you're not the one that knows how to actually do all the code, if you at least know and how to work with databases, you can create something that actually is more than just a prototype. It can actually become a product because you knew how to set it up well. And I think that that's the thing that's been missing. A lot of people think that AI is only for prototyping. I think it's great. I think it will get us to, functional kind of prototypes, but I think we can even take it further if you at least know somewhat what you're doing. What do you think about all that?
Oh, 100%. This is where, I was telling you how passionate I am as a lean product manager, right? So I really want to focus on that word lean. So that's Lean, lean. The reason being is that in lean product management, we very much emphasis on the importance of actually building something that could be a maybe a Figma interactive prototype. It could be just a mock-up, or I mean, that's before the AI age. Now we got tools like Replit, Lovable, all those tools, and the ChatGPT as well. We can build proper functional prototype, and like you said earlier, they're actually working prototypes that we can actually do smoke tests and all different tests with real customers, right?
Yeah.
And as a PM, that's actually even more powerful than you having a just interactive prototype.
Yeah.
Getting feedback from customer. What if you're going to use it? What do you think? And when real customers using it, because you're not actually selling that to customers, what you want to do is you want to test out is that product somebody actually going to be using on a regular basis. Once you get the real usage data, that's a much more solid proof comparing to just getting some customer opinions on whether they're going to try this or not.
You actually get to see the behavior, like you've got real data points there.
And the key difference here is coming back to your assumption. People are saying, hey, it's just we're not going to be able to sell. That might be true. But here's a kicker, right? Once you've done the validation using that, getting that true confidence, knowing this is actually the one, this is going to work, then you can in today's world, you can build it properly, I guess. You actually hire a small team to really build it out front end, back end, but only once you actually done the validation. So do that stuff beforehand, just by yourself, using those tools, launch the market. It's all about what I call get to this validated learning stage, where you can have a very high level of confidence, knowing this is something the customers really want and really need. And then you can build it up properly after. So there's no stopping you from doing that.
I think that's great. And the things that will happen along the way, like you might initially build something with a Bolt, a Lovable, one of those kind of tools, and where you've got some, for example, a chatbot or something else that's got AI in it, and put in your OpenAI API key, for example, just in the front end code, and you don't realize, you think it's like safe and stuff, and it's not until you get an email from OpenAI saying that your key's being compromised that you go, oh, that's not going to work and stuff. So then you think about it, and then you can, even if you are passionate and you know what to look for and stuff, and you can ask the questions of AI, you can see that, oh, well, the only way solution is that I have to have people log in to Supabase, to Azure, whatever it is, and I can put the OpenAI key in a function that's sitting behind the scenes, so only logged in users can actually access. And even then, that is more protected than being in the front end code. So the thing is, the problems, whatever, that's one type of problem. There's multiple other problems that even if you don't know exactly, you can either talk to your friends and they can tell you, then you can ask AI, how do I implement it? Or you can talk to the AI. But if you're passionate, going back to what you said at the start, you can solve these things. Kurt, what do you think about how do you think AI adoption in fintech and edtech is going to go, given what you're seeing and given the things that you're passionate about? Where do you see this space kind of going over the next couple of months? Or, it's a couple of months is already a long period, but what are your thoughts on that?
For sure. I'll probably start with skin-tech because I've been doing most of this stuff in this space. From what I've seen so far, I want to start with the context first, because AI is actually kind of on top of the existing sort of financial infrastructure and everything. So within fintech or financial services in general, there's the rising trends is what we call embedded finance. So there's more. So I'll just explain very briefly what embedded finance is. So think of this way. I don't know if you, when was the last time you opened your, say, NRMA app or Qantas app and those apps? And you will see more and more of those companies, and they are not financial companies. They are they in that kind of a motor support help sort of area, Qantas in the airline. A lot of those non-financial companies, if you go into their applications on the web, on mobile, they offer home loans, they offer car loans, they offer all this different lending, or you can call banking or financial products. And in most cases, those financial products, obviously, they are not financial institutions. So they would have a white labeled partner. In some of the companies I used to work in before, they are white labeled sort of financial institutions or technology partners. They will be the one providing those, both from a technology standpoint and also from a financial product perspective, to those non-financial companies. Think about for Apple, if Apple tomorrow, true, they sell iPhones, right? But they also do some sort of a personal loan to you while you're buying an iPhone. They must done that through another financial organization, right? So that's what we call embedded finance. Because of the rise of embedded finance, so there's a very much increasing trends of providing customer with a what we call hyper personalized sort of a embedded finance lending experience. For example, so just imagine if you go on to maybe a carsale.com, one of those car sale sites, you want to buy a beautiful sports car, right? And you don't want to pay too much upfront. You want to get a loan or something from the dealership. So right now, I mean, if you do that, you have to go to the dealership. They would only have maybe 2 or 3 their preferred lenders, and the whole process very kind of a paper driven, very old fashioned, or can go very long as well. But in today's world, we're actually more and more of those sort of companies, they're using AI to really providing what do you call almost like a dynamically risk-based pricing. So they can actually base on your own risk profile. And that actually also tied to what we call alternative credit scoring capabilities, which is also powered by AI as well. Not just using your, say, your past credit history, your pays and stuff, right? There's a lot more social data. There's different type of data they can inject to it. There's already engine can help him to do that. But then that information can fit to the front end from a risk-based pricing perspective. So for example, your offer pricing might be quite different from mine because of our, our risk profile, because of all different things.
How it should
and
be.
based on the products as well, right? Which is how it should be. So hence why I think that's definitely where it's heading. And there's traditionally, there was only used machine learning to do that. But nowadays, there's more and more GenAI applications can actually even further feel that you can call this improvement of the front end experience, which is backed by this huge back end of capabilities driving.
I think that, what you touch on there is this hyper personalization that was harder to do before. Not because machine learning and, this arguably fits under, when people talk about AI, a lot of lay persons, they think, oh, AI is just ChatGPT, but like it's a wider spectrum as we know. And we're going down the line of the neural networks, which is like what is driving GPTs. But in terms of like at an overall kind of level, where do you see this space kind of like heading when it comes to further usage in finance? And we maybe even touch on EdTech there, because like you guys are doing more EdTech related stuff. That how do you see these things being adopted further? Do you think that we need to have more workshops, more people need to be coming to events? Like how do you convince people that are still a little bit anti it? Because like robo-debt was such a big negative thing here in Australia, and people still feel like, oh, that was AI. Well, that wasn't generative AI. That was a very different kind of thing. But how do you convince the naysayers?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I don't have all the answers, but all I know is that I can definitely see there is a need in getting more, especially the senior stakeholders in both. This is actually not just for fintech or financial services, edtech as well, because in financial services, in education, those industries, how can I put it? I mean, generally speaking, a lot of senior leadership, they probably have been very successful with the way historically they've been running the organizations, and like whether it's traditional software capabilities and structure and everything. So I think that adoption, whether it's because both industries are fairly highly regulated, whether it's from a regulatory standpoint or from their internal just ability to adapt and everything. So there has been some struggles, I have to say, in both industries. Coming back to your point earlier, whether it's from a consultancy perspective, from a workshop perspective, industry sort of awareness perspective. So there's definitely that need of bringing more both AI experts or even people like ourselves. Actually, you can call community builders, right? It's basically because like one of the things to be honest with you, one of my vision for my GenAI in fintech and edtech, it is actually not just at grassroots level. If I can build enough momentum and everything, I really want to actually partner up with some financial, service sort of organizations where you can go governing bodies, right? Really bring them together. I think once they actually have better understanding, appreciation of, there's you can just trust us or trust this sort of space a bit more, then I think you will see a lot more adoption or a lot more collaboration among different sort of industry bodies and everything. That's kind of the goal I am actually doing.
That's very strategic. I hope it gets there, because I think meetup groups, and we've been part of that, it's great to run them, but there has to be some strategy to it. Otherwise, you can easily burn out, because there's so much what people don't realize is behind, and this well, behind the scenes, how much work goes into even running just one event. So I love to hear that there's a strategy there. And I think, if more of these groups get connected, we can all be learning from each other. And speaking of the meetup, now obviously this is going out in a few weeks' time, and this meetup will already have happened, but you just mentioned that the next one coming up for us, we're filming this on the 5th of September, so I'm dating it, but you've got one coming up next week, which
Yeah,
is a
next Tuesday.
practical one. Can you tell us about that?
For sure. The one next Tuesday night, I mean, this is retrospective.
Yes, yeah.
This is about sort of a demonstrating, actually a live demonstration of building a RAG model. So for those that doesn't know what RAG is, retrieval, is that retrieval? Yeah,
Yep.
retrieval augmented generation. So
Right,
this
yeah.
is basically ability, actually ChatGPT nowadays can do that stuff as well. It's basically if you only fit into the information or the data that you want from an output perspective that constrained or combined or confining, then you can actually build a model that actually doesn't allow the or the AI to hallucinate as much.
Yeah.
So that's kind of it's been around for a little while. It's the last
Yep.
year or a bit. I think there's definitely increasing adoption for the different organizations, but I just really want to practically telling everyone, and it's not me demonstrating.
Yeah.
I have an organization, they're very technically capable. They're going to help us to do that demonstration of a particular fintech use case, just showing to people how accessible that we can actually all sort of do it, not just for the really, really technical guys. And there's a lot of you can call RAG as a service or the sort of a providers out there.
Yeah.
Just further lowering the bar of actually for your organization to apply those technologies.
You don't have to set it up yourself. You can use a service now for it, which is great. And for RAG, for folks out there, if you just ask a question of the model and it doesn't have the information in there, it's got a higher chance of, say, hallucinating answers. Whereas with RAG, it's only going to answer from what's in those documents, but there's still nuance, which we'll get to in the meetup. So definitely, like, I know you will have missed it, people on the show, but
you can watch the recording later on.
And watch the recording. Yeah, I was going to say, is it in person or online?
This one's online.
Okay.
So normally we would have the recording after for members only. So make sure you sign up to our membership, and it's free anyway. But in that way, you will get the recording after.
I think that's great. I think there's a lot of learnings that people will have from that, and it's great to record these things because people can go through the back catalog and learn and see what it's looking like there. But Kurt, do you have any, like, for people that are watching this, do you have any kind of like words of wisdom that you want to leave them with if they're just wherever they are in their AI journey? Like, what do you want to have people kind of thinking about when it comes to AI?
For sure. I think my biggest advice to everybody is just to start, not talk about it, not start think about it, start action on it today. So why I say start acting on it today, for me personally, I started just by creating this meetup community and it's just been snowballing, grow massively. I learn a lot and everything, but at the same time, I am doing something on my own as well on the side. So I think really get your hands dirty. You don't have to be a technical person to kind of learn how to do this stuff, and do a course or, join my meetup or join Mark's sort of community. Whatever things that you can feel like you can do, but do not sit on the sidelines, just sort of watch some YouTube videos or think about this stuff, but really kind of just get into it. That's probably the biggest one.
And just on that note, and like final question, but like, what kind of, let's call them tools, what's inspiring you and what are you using at the moment in terms of tools to help with your work, or like that you're seeing really cool that you want people to know about?
Yeah, for sure. So the tool I used most frequently, obviously everyone uses ChatGPT. But I think me as a PM, as a product manager, the tool I'm using a lot is Lovable. I'm a big fan of Lovable. I use that too for a couple of different things. One is actually just to kind of help me to really build out some initial designs and just sort of from a concept doing stuff. But more importantly, I am actually building, you can call a bit of functional, because nowadays with Lovable, you can connect to Supabase and of different things. I'm actually using that to build some functional prototype where we can actually get live data feedback for the sort of EdTech sort of related stuff I'm doing on the side as well. But yeah, I think there's a lot more tools out there. I think the most important thing is the tools themselves is actually not most important. Just find the one that actually you feel most comfortable with. Because for me, I'm not as technical, so I haven't been using, Vercel or a few other tools as much. So just really come down to what you are comfortable with and really go deep and hard with that tool and make the most out of it.
Brilliant. Well, look, we'll put all those things in the show notes. There's going to be some great, learnings that we'll have from going to your events, and we'll have to get you back on the show. But Kurt Young, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Mark. Really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank you for being part of today's episode. If you could really help us out by liking and subscribing, that would be incredible. It'll help us to get in front of more founders and more leaders in the AI space to share their stories and hopefully give value back to you in the future. Thanks again.